What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and I've spent some time digging through the current gameplay changes featured on the Operation New Dawn test server. Many of the changes described in the patch notes are pretty straightforward, but there are quite a few myths floating around about unannounced changes, and some of those are actually true, and in this video I will be going over all of them. Thank you to everyone who joined me in my little behind-the-scenes stream on Twitch the other night. It was really great having a community to bounce ideas off of while running my comparisons and tests. If you want to join me in such streams in future, feel free to follow my Twitch account, link in the description. And now let's take a closer look under the hood of the gameplay changes we are in for with Operation New Dawn. We can categorize the changes on the test server in two ways: announced versus unannounced, and frustration reducing versus frustration increasing, because it feels like all of the steps that have been announced are great for the players and solidly aimed at reducing frustration, while the unannounced changes are the exact opposite. But let's quickly look at the announced changes first. Explosions in Rainbow Six Siege cause a variety of visual effects such as screen shake, blurring, debris, smoke, and on the current live servers, also a lingering smoke haze. This haze effect is sadly quite unreliable in terms of its intensity, and there are certain areas on certain maps where the smoke will be so thick that it will obstruct players' visibility considerably. And while effects like this might be realistic and immersive, they also have the ability to interfere with the competitive integrity of the game, especially if the effects are unreliable, and for that reason they're simply being removed. With the launch of the new operation, the lingering smoke effect will simply be deleted. Another set of effects that for the last 5 years now have always interfered with fair and competitive gunfights in Rainbow Six are the low health effects that a player experiences. Going down to critical health will desaturate your vision and give you a temporary deafening effect, and how annoying is it to narrowly win a fight, but then immediately lose the next one because for some reason you're now at a serious disadvantage. Well, good news everyone, with the launch of the new season, the muffled sound effect you experience at low health will be significantly toned down. The effect is much less severe and now only lasts 3 seconds instead of 5 seconds. In one of my past videos highlighting how broken vaulting can be in Rainbow Six Siege, link in the top right hand corner now, I discovered that the runout timer could be quite unreliable. Not only is this getting fixed with the new season, but the runout timer itself is being reduced from the current 2 seconds to 1 second. This makes it easier for the attackers to react to surprise runouts and will make hidden jump outs almost impossible to pull off. Even if you try to immediately jump back in through a window after jumping out, you will always still get revealed very briefly. In my personal opinion, runouts and jump outs are a very effective tactic for the defenders to catch the attackers off guard, but they can also be incredibly frustrating. I've played far too many rounds this season where both my teammates as well as the opponents are just dying in the first 15 seconds of every single round because everyone's focused only on trying to exploit the early runout advantage. Taming this kind of gameplay down a bit is a good change in my opinion and will bring Siege back more towards the strategic team-based gameplay it is supposed to have. Another great little quality of life change is the reduction of time it takes for defenders to reinforce a wall or hatch. The timer is coming down from 5.5 seconds to 4.5 seconds, and even though 1 second might not sound like an awful lot, the action just feels so much less tedious, and this is a great change in my eyes. On attack, an area that is seeing a lot of little tweaks coming in with the new season is diffuser planting. The improvements to the planting mechanics are as follows. You will no longer be able to plant the diffuser outside of the objective room, so planting just outside of the room with just the tips of your bum cheeks grazing the zone behind you will be a thing of the past. This is achieved by changing the animation so that operators plant the diffusers at their feet rather than out in front of themselves, and this brings another key advantage with it. You will now be able to plant the diffuser right next to obstacles such as props or walls without having to move your character back first. This is not only a lovely quality of life change, but can even allow you to plant in places where your operator has just that little bit more cover than before. Finally, last but not least, there's also a small no-drop zone added around the edges of each objective room. And when the devs say small, they actually mean tiny, something like 4 inches or 10 centimeters for all you folks out there that use sensible units of distance. The purpose of this zone is to help players avoid unintentionally dropping the diffuser while trying to plant at the very edge of the zone, and I think this is a great idea. I was expecting this safety zone to be a little bit larger, but actually maybe a tiny zone is perfectly adequate. It's only meant to be a little bit of a safety buffer anyway. So the bottom line is that planting should become a lot more intuitive and more comfortable in future, and I'm all for it. Finally, there are also some announced improvements to Gadget on Gadget interactions. Oh my.
Not that kind of interaction, you pervert!
Oh, well, okay then. Right, so what this actually means is that sticky attacker projectiles are now supposed to work properly when fired at defender gadgets such as Melusi's Banshees or Maestro's Evil Eyes. Beyond this, gadget deployment is blocked by existing gadgets. Up until now, Ash and Kali projectiles simply used to bounce off of bulletproof defender gadgets, and that is now getting fixed. Sticky projectiles will now actually stick. That's a cool change, I'm all for it. But I also think this could be taken a little bit further. Hibana's sticky pellets, for instance, will still not stick to the defender gadgets. Sure, it would be another little buff to Hibana, but I think it could be cool to have the pellets also work against gadgets. When Ace was introduced, he was advertised as a hard breacher / anti-gadget operator, so why don't his water things work against gadgets? Why don't they go off? That would be a nice change. And what about Clash? Wouldn't it be nice if sticky attacker gadgets would actually work, would actually stick to the shield and then explode? It would be a minor buff to Ash and Kali, but also a nice little nerf to Clash. The second part of the update is that gadgets can no longer be deployed over the top of each other. Let's take Thermite and Melusi as an example here. In the current state of the game, you cannot deploy the Thermite charge directly over the top of the gadgets, but you can deploy them so close that they still clip through each other. In future, you will no longer be able to do this, and you will need to leave enough space to existing gadgets so that there will no longer be any clipping. I guess this is a nice-to-have kind of update rather than something that will materially affect the way the game is played, and even here, I think there's still room for improvement. In the current live build, defenders can deploy their gadgets over the top of each other by placing them down at the same spot at the same time. Maestro cameras with slowdown, anyone? I tried this method out on the test server, and even after the improvement to Gadget on Gadget interactions, this is still possible, and if you're going to address gadget collisions, then you may as well do it properly, no? Next up, the myths and unannounced or hidden changes that are currently live on the TS. Meleeing is speeding up, but at the same time, it's also slowing down. Now, this feature is almost certainly a bug because it's already been listed in some of the test server patch notes as fixed, but I've actually tested it afterwards and it's not fixed yet. So let me show you exactly what the problem is right now, and well, maybe it will come to the live servers or maybe it will actually get fixed beforehand. Who knows? Slashing a wall shows that the new melee animation is on average 100 milliseconds faster in terms of the time it takes from pushing the melee button to the strike landing. But Importantly, the reset time before you're allowed to perform a new action is lengthened by around 100 to 180 milliseconds on average depending on the action. So right now on the TS, the delay between meleeing and then meleeing again is about 20% longer than on the live servers. The delay between meleeing and aiming is just over 10% longer, and that is particularly important when you're trying to quickly snap off a shot after punching a hole into a wall. Honestly, I don't quite know what to make of this change. It could actually be great to have the melee strike land much sooner after pushing the button. Maybe that will help lower the number of missed melee attacks against an opponent because the timing will be more intuitive. At the same time though, the added delay before being able to perform another action feels horribly slow and I really don't like it. Now of course, since this change was not mentioned in any of the patch notes or announcements, it might just be an unintended change or a bug that may or may not be fixed before the season comes to the live servers. Nevertheless, what are your thoughts on this change? Would you like to see it stay in the game? Let me know in a comment below. Since the launch of the test server, I've seen some discussion around the muzzle attachments and specifically the muzzle flash and smoke effects of the flash hider. I tested the flash hider on several guns on both the test server and the live build and can conclusively say that this myth is busted. Yes, there are almost no visible flame effects at all on the test server, depending on the gun and sight setup, but the effects are exactly the same on the live build and have always been this way. This should not really come as a massive surprise because, you know, it's a flash hider, so, oh shock and horror, it hides flashes quite successfully. Moving on from that, another undocumented change that is quite evident on the test server is an increase in the hipfire spread for every weapon in the game, see examples in the background. I've seen quite a few people reporting issues with shotguns, especially while breaching soft surfaces because of the spread change, but while the hipfire indicator is undeniably larger for every single gun in the game, I did a little bit of testing. Here is Valkyrie's Spaz 12 in a side-by-side comparison, and if we actually shoot the gun to create a spread pattern, it very quickly becomes clear that it is actually the same for both test and live servers. I repeated the same test with Caveira's Spaz 15, same result. What if we aim down sight? Again, the underlying spread is actually the same. So despite all of the rumors, it appears as if this one is almost certainly busted as well. It makes no sense for the spread indicator to become larger without a change to the actual spread in the game, so my guess is that this is virtually guaranteed to be just a visual bug that will hopefully be fixed before the launch of the season. And last, and probably also least, there's been an announcement that 3D weapon skins are being added into the game. The seasonal update notes read, 3D weapon skins are gradually being added into the game. Skins are intended to improve the quality of content provided to players and provide further monetization customization options. Provided to players and provide further customization options. There, got it. And that's it, all of the important announced and unannounced gameplay updates coming to Rainbow Six Siege with Operation New Dawn. Although maybe the unannounced things are actually just bugs, and they hopefully won't come to the live servers at all. All in all, I'm really impressed with the quality of life changes coming to the game, and I'm really looking forward to the new season. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below, and with that, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.